So I'll call the meeting to order at 7:30. A couple quick housekeeping announcements as we start. It's going to get very warm in here. We've got the door open, but the mosquitoes may come and carry a few of you away. If that happens, we'll close the door after you're gone. If you want to open the back door and see if we can get some cross ventilation, that might give us an extra 5 minutes of air. Otherwise, what I'm saying is it's to everyone's benefit to keep things moving, okay? There's been a couple different requests to advance articles. What that would mean is to take an article from down in the warrant and bring it up so it could be dealt with immediately. Those of you who have been attending my meetings for the last however many years know that I strongly discourage that. It leaves the meeting open to manipulation and leads to some unfair situations that can lead to manipulation of rules of order, and so I strongly discourage that. If we keep the meeting moving as quickly as we have in the past, we'll get through everything pretty quickly. Okay, I'm going to ask Chair Dan Gallant to talk for maybe 5 minutes to frame the meeting for us. Then I will talk about how we'll handle the budget, and we'll go on from there. Dan?
Thanks, Ed, and thanks everyone for coming. I'm Dan Galanti, the chair of the Select Board. We think this is as good of an opportunity as there's got to sort of give an update on some of the things we in the town have done, begun, or accomplished over the last year or so. And so thanks for giving me 5 to maybe 7 minutes. Finally, after much too long, the Healdville Road Bridge reconstruction is nearly complete. The rails were on back order, which is why it's not fully complete, but they should be in soon. The bridge was paid for, ultimately, by Mass DOT, which allows us to reroute some additional monies into the Chapter 90 highway funds. The DPW crews helped to demolish the original bridge and to coordinate the work. Burnshirt Road has also been fully reconstructed, and I think looks great. Recently, you may have heard we secured a $1 million STRAP grant from the state for the repaving of Old Westminster Road, a section of Grimes Road, and a section of Highbridge Road. There is now a 3 to 5 year pavement management and reconstruction plan in place, and we're really working on ways to help pay for fixing our broken roads. We can apply for the STRAP grant every other fiscal year. And in 2019, we preliminarily plan on including portions of Flag, Cross, Hale Extension, Williamsville, Mount Jeff, and potentially others. We will also be dedicating whatever we can from the Chapter 90 funds received from the state towards reconstruction of our roads. So we had a very much out of the blue town administrator change at a very difficult time of the year. Budget season with school assessments, town meeting warrant development, ballot questions, that sort of stuff. Our interim town administrator, Rand Siegel, did a fantastic job hitting the ground running, learning on the fly, and keeping the town operating as efficiently as possible, and we want to thank her for her hard work and professionalism. We also want to thank our former town administrator, Anita Shipers, for her 3 years here in Hubbardston. Our organizational structure is much more stable than it was before she came on board, and we want to thank her for that. She's not here tonight. We recently entered into the Massachusetts Community Compact program. In a Community Compact, which is a program established in 2015, a community such as ours agrees to implement at least one best practice selected from a variety of areas. All of the Quabbin towns got together to choose education as the best practice area, and each town voted and agreed to authorize Hubbardston to take the lead in a joint grant request. We then received a $70,000 grant to retain outside assistance to perform a wide-ranging analysis of the school system, which incorporates population projections, revenue sources, and many, many other factors. Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito was at the signing of the grant with us last week in Ocam. What we are doing, this regional collaboration, is unprecedented in the state, and they're very eager to help us with our dire school funding issues. Okay, moving along. Wanted to give you all some town committee updates. The building committee has been working very hard to spend the grant money that former Senator Brewer secured for the town last year. I'm sure you've seen that some preliminary tree clearing and site work has begun. The design of the senior center is nearly complete, and we plan on advertising multiple informational sessions to get town resident input over the next several months as the final details are reviewed. There's been a 40% reduction in overall size of the proposed senior center since the building committee started meeting back in November. There are some well and septic issues with the DEP that we had been working through, so the final schedule on when the senior center is set to be on the ballot for vote has not been determined yet, but we're hoping for early fall. The plan is to have bids from contractors in hand at that special town meeting so that you will know for exactly what and for exactly how much money you are voting on. We are happy to report, which many of you have heard, that money, the $500,000, was supposed to expire June 30th. Due to the issues we were having, we were able to get an extension on that towards the end of the year, so that helps out our cause. I do want to thank the committee members for their many meetings of hard work and the seniors for staying intimately involved and mostly under control. Tonight you'll see an article related to monies for a schematic design of a town center reconstruction. And you may have also seen the Town Center Committee survey, a handout distributed prior to town meeting. And I know many of you filled out the survey, which had an absolutely great response, with great responses. The Town Center Committee has been meeting regularly for over 6 months and look forward to continuing that work, and hopefully with the assistance of a design and engineering firm for that schematic design if the monies are authorized through the warrant article tonight. Wonderfully, 2 WPI students have chosen our project as part of their senior capstone project, and we'll be working with the committee once they return back to school in August. We want early feedback from the town on what you want on a new Main Street, whenever that may come, and additional or public hearings will be held to discuss all of that. Almost done. The following is a statement from the 250th Anniversary Committee. 2017 is going to be a big year for the town of Hubbardston. We will be celebrating our 250th anniversary. The Anniversary Committee has been hard at work in planning something memorable for the town. The actual celebration will be held June 17, 2017, with a parade, fireworks, food, and other festivities. Starting in January 2017, for each month leading up to the anniversary, we will offer a free town event, a kickoff dance, variety show, Revolutionary War reenactment, and an afternoon full of games, sledding, and cocoa are a few of the amusements in the planning stage of our community. Please come out and help if you are interested in seeing these events happen. Currently, the committee is working on fundraising and parade planning. Be on the lookout for opportunities to help out. One such opportunity will be on June 25th. The town will have the opportunity to participate in a movie and camp out on the rec fields. Awesome. Registration forms are available tonight. A special thank you to Hubbardston Community Theater, Gerard Fence, the Ruptured Duck, Appleseeds Academy, and Chair City Oil for your very generous donations to the 250th celebration. Since March, we've raised $3,500, and we still have a ways to go, and time is very short. Please consider making a donation to our community, and flags are coming out soon. Be sure to get yours. Everybody needs a place, a community, something larger than oneself to care about and to be part of. We can't make this celebration happen with 5 people. Come out and help the 250th committee make your community something to be proud of. Like us on Facebook to be in the loop for fundraising and parade planning, or better yet, come out to the meeting on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. We want to see you. And finally, the budget and the schools, which go absolutely hand in hand every time we meet. We believe we've put together a thoughtful but lean budget, which we're about to go over tonight. The leanness is driven by significant increases in assessments from both the Quabbin and Monty Tech school districts, information which you'll hear information from us on later, as well as the school who is here tonight. That being said, as said previously in a statement released by the board, there is no chance the HCS will be closed for the 2016-2017 school year, as has been rumored. The only way the school can close is if the town votes to close it at a special town meeting called specifically for that one agenda item. A task force made up of representatives of all 5 QRSD towns in conjunction with the schools was formed about 10 months ago, and this task force was formed after the Hubbardston Select Board asked the schools for a 5-year financial plan. The task force was formed to address the annual financial fits the Quabbin towns go through as we try to deal with rising education costs, even with declining enrollment. It's not easy, and there are many, many other communities around the state that are going through the same thing year after year. But with the task force and with the what I spoke of before, signing with the Lieutenant Governor, the task force has been tasked with evaluating all potential alternatives for the district's future. Thank you very much for your time.
I forgot to mention at the opening, if you did not sign in on your way in and get a blue card, please do so. Gentlemen at the back, if you're voting members of the meeting, could you please be seated? Can't stand during the meeting. Or if you're not a voting member, please go to the side. I apologize in advance if I'm reading quickly. Please try to follow along. I figure I can save about 3.5 minutes that way. Here we go. The elections to choose necessary offices, Article 1, will be held next week, June 14th, a week from tonight. The reports are submitted. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to authorize Board of Selectmen to enter into agreements with Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Transportation and Construction and Maintenance of Public Highways for the 12-month period beginning July 1, 2016. Motion? Made. Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? The motion carries. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to accept educational grants and aid for fiscal year 2017 to be expended for authorized purposes by Montezuma Regional Vocational Technical School and the Quabbin Regional School District. Motion? Made. Second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Article 5. When we get a long article like this, I usually don't read the whole thing, but give you a little time to go through it. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to authorize the continuation of the following Holden Hospital account for fiscal year 2017. The Holden Hospital account is funded by monies received from the establishment of a $2.5 million trust fund under a settlement between the Medical Center of Central Massachusetts and the 11 communities formerly served by Holden Hospital. Some of you can probably remember Holden Hospital. The money, they're still sending money from that. Any purchases to be presented for payment from this account shall be authorized by the appropriate board and only to be used for the following. Could you take 1 minute and just read the related subsections, A, B, C, and D? Hold on. May I have a motion, please? Made. Second. Want to go to the mic, Tom? What's the total amount of money? $6,000 big dollars. Okay. I see no questions. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 6, see if the town will vote to authorize the following revolving accounts for fiscal 2017 under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53.5, as shown on the following chart with amendments to particular funds noted in bold, italicized, or strike-through text. Motion? Made. Second. Why don't I give you a minute to look through these. If you'd like to discuss any one of the sections, please raise your hand. Okay, I haven't seen any hands raised. Therefore, we'll vote on Article 6. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4, which establishes a special revenue fund to be known as the Public Educational, Governmental Access, and Cable-Related Fund. The fund to begin operation for fiscal year 2017, which begins July 1, 2016, into which shall be deposited cable television license proceeds, which funds may be appropriated by the town meeting for cable-related purposes. Motion? Made. Second. Any questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 60, Section 15B, which allows the town of Hubbardston to establish a tax title collection revolving fund for the treasurer-collector and to establish a spending limit of $4,000 for fiscal year 2017, provided, however, the Board of Selectmen, with the approval of FinCom, may increase such limit at the request of the treasurer-collector. Motion? Made and second. Thank you. Any questions or discussion? I see none. Oh, there's a question. To the microphone, please. I forgot to mention, if you do decide that you have a question as an article comes up or as I'm reading it, please just go to the microphone, identify yourself when I call on you for the record, and we'll go. Your name, please, sir? See, I think you're going to have to turn the button on the front of that, push it up. Okay. We'll try again.
Basically, where is the money coming from? Why is it collected? How is it spent?
Select Board, Mike.
So the $4,000, this is a revolving fund, which means it's not actual budget money we're putting in. Tax title are properties that are abandoned or haven't been paying taxes for 10, 12, 15 years that the town will then take and then sell off. Many towns do this. This is an expensive process, so as money is collected from that process, it's putting to the revolving fund, so that can then fund another tax title expense sometime in down the future. So this isn't budget money that's going into this. This is money's collected from a tax title property.
Thank you. I think we have that mic working again. Thank you. So that's Article 8. Right? Okay, seeing no other questions, all in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Article 9, to see if the town will vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to establish temporary driveway permit revolving fund for the DPW, with the fund being credited with certain charges and fees collected by the DPW upon payment of permit fees for temporary driveway applicants. Said monies in the fund may be spent without appropriation by the DPW to pay out-of-pocket expenses associated with road repairs made necessary by the temporary driveway installation, and may be used in addition to any monies appropriated in the annual departmental budget for the DPW for these expenses. Motion? Made Mike, second Dan. Questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money for the purpose of funding collective bargaining agreements between the town of Hubbardston, Professional Firefighters Local 4957, IAFF, effective July 1st, 2016. Motion? Made. Second. Source of revenue, please. Available funds is the source of revenue. Second was Dan. Raise and appropriate? Raise and appropriate. Okay. All in favor of Article 10, please raise your hand. Oh, you have a question?
Yeah, it says a sum of money. How much money is the sum of money?
Go ahead. This is collective bargaining?
It's reflected in this year's budget already, Ed. I don't have an exact number, but there was some wage increases, contractual wage increases, but it's already in our current budget. Oh, sorry. Good. Thanks, Rayanne. Approximately $4,900 more. Not 49,000, 4,900.
Any other questions? Seeing none. All in favor of Article 10, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 11, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from taxation. Is that the source on this, taxation? Oh, this is the budget, okay. From taxation, available funds, or otherwise provide following sums of money to meet the salaries and compensation of town employees, town officers, provide Mass General Law 41, Section 108, expense and outlays of the town departments, and other sundry miscellaneous but regular expenditures necessary for the operation of the town for fiscal year 2017, and further accept and expend federal and state funds to offset certain salaries or expenses and outlay. Do I have a motion, please? Made, second. Okay. You have the summary of the accounts there before we get into it. Where is that sheet? Underneath. So for those of you who are familiar with the meeting and recall, the way we go through this is I'll take a section and read the account number. If you want to hold, that is, if you want to discuss a particular account number, please raise your hand and say hold, and then go to the microphone. I will go through a section until I have a number of holds and then stop at a logical point, and we'll deal with those discussions. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. So the first is general government. I'm going to read yeah, but I have to go through the lines. I think what I'll do is this year, because the numbers are different and they're longer and will be difficult to follow, I think I'll read the account name, and that would probably be easier for everyone. Is that okay? Okay. So under general government, select board salary, town secretary wages, select board expense, binding of records, town administrator salary, town administrator performance-related pay, town administrator expense, town clerk salary, town clerk certification, town clerk expense, assistant town clerk. Elections and registrations, Board of Registrars wages, town accountant salary, town accountant services, new, municipal finance clerk wages, town accountant expense, annual audit, fiscal year 15. Assessor's salary, municipal office clerk 2. Assessor's expenses, assessor's contracted services, assessor's maps. Treasurer collector salary, treasurer's certification, municipal finance clerk wages, treasurer's expense, payroll service, treasurer's tax title expense. Assistant tax collector wages, tax collector certification, tax collector expense, tax collector tax title expense, excise property tax bill preparation and mail. Treasurer collector salary, treasurer collector certification, assistant treasurer collector wage, financial clerk, treasurer collector expense, treasurer collector payroll service, treasurer collector tax title expense. Legal services, Conservation Commission salaries, Conservation Commission expense, town office utilities and maintenance, building maintenance, town office phone, IT maintenance, VTH website maintenance, copier expense. Board of Appeals clerk wages, Board of Appeals expense, town report, moderator, Finance Committee expenses, Finance Committee reserve fund. So before you turn the page, when we finish a section, we vote on the total, so that just as a sake of clarification. So what we're going to vote on is fiscal year 2017 proposed, the far right column, which I believe says $577,427. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The section is carried. Public safety. Police chief salary, police wages, police training wages, police department clerk, police department maintenance, police department vehicle maintenance, police department equipment and outlay, code red. Fire chief salary, fire department full-time wages, fire department other wages, fire department maintenance, Fire Department vehicle maintenance, Fire Department equipment and outlay, miscellaneous expense, Rutland Regional dispatch fee, dispatch maintenance and equipment, building commissioner salary, building department expense, animal inspector salary, animal inspector expense, planning board expenses, Montechusett Regional Planning District, inspectional services assistant, building department planning board clerk wages, Board of Health wages, landfill monitoring, Board of Health wages, tree warden wages, tree warden outside services, emergency planning director, emergency planning expense, animal control officer service and expense. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the hold. What line are you looking at?
Building commissioner salary.
Okay, go ahead. Identify yourself.
Hi, Faye Zukowski.
Turn it down.
I'm short. Can you explain to me how many hours the building inspector does here in town?
We don't have we don't have an exact number of hours here. It varies a lot. It's at least in the 20s.
Is it still 2 hours of office time a week?
Office hours? Yeah, so it's 2 hours. It's still 2 hours of dedicated office time, but there's a lot of inspections, and certainly it's a lot of on-call. As there's construction projects, there may be more hours that week and less hours another week.
And is it true that we share the building inspector with 2 other communities?
Yes.
Okay, so doing the numbers, $27,734 is roughly $534 a week. If he's working 10 hours a week, that's $53 an hour.
Okay.
Okay, I see no other questions. No one's approached. So if you go down to the total for public safety, we have $982,504. All in favor of the total, please raise your hand. Opposed, abstain. The line is voted. Education, Quabbin Regional School Assessment, School Montechusett Regional Vocational Tech, Quabbin Ed Support Center, QRSD Middle High School Construction Bonds, QRSD Green Repair. Mike, you had a hold on the Quabbin budget.
I do have a hold on the Quabbin budget. We wanted to explain a little bit about the number here and also several articles in the future. There's a override that was placed by the, asked to be placed by the Quabbin district. If it's okay with the moderator and the body, I'd like to ask Maureen Marshall to explain
Dr. Marshall,
the situation.
would you mind using the podium? Yeah, use the microphone here.
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify the way in which the budget for education is presented this year. It's a little different due to the amount of the increase. We are requesting that there be an override of an amount of money in order to produce the total amount that we would like to assess the town of Hubbardston. The total amount of the assessment is $4,557,029. You will see that a portion of that is in the number that is listed on the blue sheet. That is a portion of our request. The other portion of our request is in Article 23, which is a request for an override of some $200,000 plus. So we would need 2 positive votes, the positive vote on the blue sheet, and then a positive vote to put on an override at your next election an amount of money that is included in Article 23. If you approve the blue sheet but fail to move forward with an override, our budget will fail. If you don't approve the blue sheet, our budget fails. We have to come out of here with a positive vote on the number that is included on the blue sheet, and a positive effort on your part to allow us to pursue an override. Technically, we will still leave, even if we get your approval to proceed with an override, the budget still fails because there is still not enough money to fill the request of the Quabbin Regional School District. So what basically needs to happen is we need the amount that's in the override to be approved. We need the amount that is in or included on the blue sheet to be approved for us to have an approved budget amount in the town of Hubbardston. So technically you can't really approve our budget tonight. You can approve a portion of it, and obviously the Article 23, which includes an additional amount, that override would have to be not only approved to be on the ballot by your work, but also voted. The override would have to pass. So we have a long road ahead of us in the Quabbin Regional School District, and I certainly will be able to provide you very specific information as to why you see such a very large budget increase in the Quabbin Regional School budget. But just wanted to explain that there's two votes that have to happen, one on the blue sheet and one later in Article 23.
Maureen, could you explain why the budget increases so much? I mean, we've gone, the number that we've budgeted on the blue sheet is 6%, and it's already a 6% increase over last year's assessment. What the school district was asking us was a 12.9% increase. Can you explain why that's such a high increase?
I can do that. The Quabbin Regional School budget has increased by about $1.8 million. That $1.8 million is totally the result of increased special education costs, especially for out-of-district placements for numbers of students that attend our schools within the Quabbin Regional School District from pre-K, obviously, that's age 2.8 to age through their 22nd birthday. Some of our placements are $300,000, $200,000, $100,000, $50,000. Crotchet Mountain, for example, we have children that are transported back and forth to Crotchet Mountain in New Hampshire on a daily basis with cerebral palsy issues. This is an extraordinary situation. We have never seen this level of increase in our special education population. It is not, however, a number that I cannot bring to you. We have level funded everything else in the budget except I cannot not pay the special education costs that have the result, obviously, of a state mandate. The law says that basically once a child is not only referred, but ends up being eligible for special education services, those special education services are designed by pediatricians, school psychologists, guidance counselors, and other individuals who may be advocating for the child and trying to get the services that child may need. Some of these services include long-term pediatric care facilities where children have never been to our school. They're in long-term care pediatric facilities, but those are Quabbin's bills. They are our children. And I know it is difficult sometimes to imagine that there are children who have that level of need, but there are. They're from Hubbardston, they're from Barry, they're from Oakham, they're from Hardwick, and they're from New Braintree. They are ours. And I feel a little bit like Sophie's Choice, because my job is to say to you, these are children who need these services. These are services that have been determined by very, very sophisticated teams of people who get together to do this work. I cannot not fund this portion of the budget. If the budget fails, and you are just one of our 5 towns, and these are very, very difficult assessments that we bring to you, we don't minimize that, I will have to go in and offset regular day programs by the amount that I am unable to pass in the member towns out of the regular day program, because by law I must fund that $1.8 million for the special education placements that we know exist. We've had a number of individual placements that are brand new to us at $300,000 in excess. And we have a new autistic program that must be put together for our middle school. We have had autistic programs for our pre-K and early learners in the primary grades. We have a program in our intermediate grades. Some of our autistic children who are in special programs within the school district are aging into the middle school. We have to expand that program. The expansion of the program alone costs about $140,000. I can't not do that. I can't say to parents whose children need a particular program, a special program, that we refuse to produce it. We have to put it in place, and it has to be operational by the time school begins. So the problem that I have is I want, obviously, to ensure that the children in regular day classes, as well as our special education classes, get the services that they absolutely need. If I did not have this special education issue this year, this budget would not be a problem. I can't fix this piece of it. I can only cannibalize one other section of the budget in order to fund special education without your help.
Dr. Marshall, quick question. You explained some of these sort of external costs if we have to send somebody out, but you just mentioned $140,000 to expand. What are, just summarize, what's included in that sort of thing within our own infrastructure?
Basically, those students have a one-on-one, shall we say, teacher-to-student ratio. In addition to that, there has to be new rooms created which have certain cubbies because of the need for isolation sometimes, so students can learn more. There is additional speech therapy that's necessary for students who remain nonverbal even into the middle school years. Some of our students need special restraint and special restraint personnel available to them during the school day. They obviously have extensive remedial work, and so they do have specialized service providers that come in and out, OT, occupational therapy, physical therapy in the classroom. So it is a very, very intense program. I know you're probably going to find this difficult, but there will be 3 students in that new 7th grade program, and the additional cost to manage those 3 students will be $140,000. They have special transportation. They are taken to and from that program in vans. They do not ride on the big yellows. They need, obviously, special aids oftentimes on those buses in order to, be safe in their transport. So that's the autism program. We have that one-on-one autism program, as I said, for our preschool and for our intermediate grades, and now our children are aging into the middle school.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Marshall on this particular? Let's hope it works this time.
So theoretically, you could have one student absorb the entire budget for the school?
Yes.
Wow.
There is opportunities for us to get some reimbursement from the state. We work very hard, and we worked very hard this year to get extraordinary relief from some of the move-ins that we had in the district. We were capable of, what did we get, Cheryl, about 40 of nothing? We didn't get extraordinary relief. So we work very hard with certainly the Department of Education. We are not the only school district who is bringing to their communities these kinds of increases. Town of Shrewsbury had 4 $400,000 placements move in. And granted, Shrewsbury is a whole different world away from what we are able to raise and appropriate, and I do appreciate that. But we are not the only school district that has some of these extraordinary costs to deal with.
Jamie Pitney, 52 Berry Road. Dr. Marshall, could you just provide a summary of the overall school budget? Meaning, if memory serves, the total school budget is in excess of $30 million, and that the towns make up some percent of that collectively, and that the remaining funds come from the federal, state governments, grants, things like that. And, can you talk, if it's relevant, talk about where some of those funding shortfall are happening?
Well, there is a funding shortfall in the area of Chapter 70. As our enrollments decline, the amount of money we get in Chapter 70, which is general school aid, has been level funded for probably the last 7 years. As a result, the state used to provide about 65% of the funding for our school district. In other words, all of the monies that we would spend, 65% of them really were funded by the state. It is now nearly, would you say 47%, Cheryl, about? Oh, 50? So 15% of what the state used to pay, they don't pay, and as a result, the local communities have picked up those additional costs. It is not unlike what's happened in Wachusett. Wachusett has lost both of its overrides, one in Paxton, one in Rutland, trying to provide services, and they also will be without a budget. The two largest regions in the central Mass area will have no budget. Not a surprise, but we will. The state, I guess, will look at us and say it's really sad. Also, the Foundation Commission, in other words, there's a foundation formula which is put together in 1993. That foundation formula is insufficient. So the Foundation Review Committee, which was made up of legislators and educators and parents and PTA and so forth, spent a full year investigating into the foundation formula. They found it to be woefully inadequate and said that the state underestimated the cost of special education since 1993 and also health insurance costs since 1993. They indicate that they owe, basically, the school districts, technically member towns, billions of dollars, but they also add that they're not able to do anything about that. So we continue to work with the state. We work with certainly the federal government as well. When Chapter 766 and special ed legislation was passed, the federal government said we will pay 1/3. The state said we will pay 1/3, and 1/3 will be borne by the local communities. Well, the feds walked away a long time ago from special ed. The state does the best it can, but when Governor Weld was, I should say when Bill Weld was the governor, he decided that Health and Human Services, that line item in his budget was just really growing at leaps and bounds, and they couldn't handle it. They then moved hospital placements for school-aged children into the school budgets. Hospital placements. Medically fragile children, when they become 2.8 years of age, they become the responsibility of the Quabbin Regional School Districts if there are medical issues that prohibit them from accessing an educational program. So we do not see this number, sadly, declining quickly. We see only our hope that we will continue to work with the legislature, who absolutely is aware of this, who knows this is a problem, and it is breaking the backs of schools across the Commonwealth. I know that it is very difficult to put this kind of budget discussion together, because I do not want in any way for you to believe that I am pitting one group of students against another. We're basically saying that we are mandated by law to pay certain services, but we are not mandated by law to pay services for regular day students.
Ron Rustin, Rolling Woods Road. Is the budget here the same one that's online? The latest one dated 4/24?
I would tell you that, yes, it should be the same one. But there is a different line item budget that we'll be working with, because we're making adjustments. We're reducing our budget. But yes, you can basically see some of the basic information from, you must be looking at the one that I think we presented at public hearing.
And
Cheryl,
that's
what's the
one
latest
that's-
update, Cheryl?
Online, you're missing appropriations and showing for that federal report. We go to the school committee with equal number for our budget and current exchange. The individual line items are not done, but they just specifically the athletic director give us a line item cut, because the school committee did not get our recommendation to eliminate middle school support. He's looking to get his level of cut in other areas. He's still working on that. Anyway, for tomorrow, but by the detailed count, yes, it's online.
Okay, I'm looking at preliminary number 17, I guess it is.
It's actually a proposed number 2 column on that report.
Yep. My question is, you continue to put the cost of the raise on special ed, but what I see here is under teacher's classroom, function 2305, the increase is $1.5 million. but I also saw in your PowerPoint presentation that you were cutting approximately $1 million worth of teachers' positions.
Yes.
So are we really cutting if we're actually gaining $500,000 worth of teacher salary?
We obviously have a contract agreement. What we have done is if you looked at, for example, what the budget increase that is impacting the increase in assessments, it is special education. We have, through other cuts and other line items, reduced sufficiently to pay the contracted raises that we owe. But there will be, by attrition especially, probably about 15 positions lost, and there will be other layoffs as well. We're trying desperately to work through not laying off people so that we can not pay 30 weeks of unemployment if we possibly can. So I would tell you that if you look at other line items, we have done our darndest to try to decrease all of those line items. We continue to hope that we can provide the same, some of the same levels of services. Our class sizes will increase, there's no question about that. We are reducing force in every department in the district, art, music, physical education, science, math, everywhere we can.
I guess my bottom line question was this a contract increase of 21%, or is this positions that were added from last year?
Oh, we had some positions that were added. Cheryl? I don't know what he's looking at, so.
Appropriations Control Report Preliminary 17.
Cheryl, you want to come up?
Go up here for a second.
Yeah, why don't you go and see what he's looking at?
Line item budget, I referenced that that's not available for this budget at this time. So just for clarification of what this gentleman was asking, I mentioned the line item detail budget, which is what he's referring to, is not available at this time because the athletic director hasn't given us his cuts to the level that the school committee voted. The appropriation control report, which is the total page for that report, is our current budget. So the $1.5 million that you're referencing and going up by classroom teachers is no longer a $1.5 million increase.
So you added and then took away from this?
That was our preliminary budget, and we have made $2.5 million worth of reductions from that piece of paper that you're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Two microphones.
Denise Clapian, Williamsville Road. I have two questions. Where's the money from school choice, the kids that are coming into the Quabbin, where's the school choice money going? And also, where's the money from the homeschooler kids that the parents are paying for and they're not getting anything out of the system for it?
Number one, I don't have any information about homeschooling. Homeschooling is something that is relatively separate from the Quabbin Regional School District. If you are paying a homeschooling fee to someone, I don't know where it's going, but it's certainly nothing that has to do with the Quabbin Regional School District. School choice, that would be students coming in from other school districts. There's a $5,000 amount that comes with each student who comes into the school district. We usually have revenue in that area of about $1.8 million, which is immediately applied to our budget to reduce assessments and to keep various programs intact. But if you're paying an assessment somewhere for homeschooling...
No, I'm saying the parents are paying for their taxes to go to the schools, and they're homeschooling their own children. We have many parents here that are doing that.
Yes.
Where's that money going? Is that offsetting anything? Because you're not teaching...
Well, see, I understand. If your children came to the Quabbin Regional School District, we would begin to receive Chapter 70 money, or money from the state for their education. The portion that you pay that goes to education out of your real estate tax, obviously it does continue to go to the schools, whether or not you've chosen to, have access to those services. I mean, you've made that decision. I can't change the tax code.
So instead of teaching 10 kids, you're teaching 5, but getting paid for 10, is what you're telling me. if you have 5
think she's
children
lost
that
me.
are homeschooled.
Right.
And you
They are not counted by the state. Those are not in our foundation enrollment. We get no money from the state for those children who are homeschooled, and the fact that your portion of your real estate tax goes to the entire budget, obviously there's a portion of the money you pay that probably trickles down to the line item that goes to schools and public safety and so forth. But
Mike, did you want to make a comment at the end about why you put the hold on?
Oh, I put the hold on so we can have this discussion. So
And
thank you, Dr. Marshall.
I don't want to take your stuff with you.
Okay. Don't go away. No, I mean from... I lost my blue sheet. Dan?
Just to summarize, so as we're getting close to the end of the total education point where we're going to be, making motions and voting on this, just so everyone's clear, what we're voting on here is not the full amount that the school is asking. It is what the town of Hubbardston has said we can provide at this time. This number, plus a future number that we'll talk about with an override, is the amount, the total amount that the school is asking for the town of Hubbardston. Everybody understand that?
The amount that we're voting on right now is the amount that the select board via the budget has said we can pay. Fair enough? Okay. And is that the right-hand column we're talking about there, 982,504?
Nope. It's $1,944,000.
I'm sorry, I'm next section down, sorry. Yeah, I thought that's kind of a low number. Good job, Maureen. Well, you get the education that comes with that number. That's the unfortunate part. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Okay, so we're on the education section, the total budget, 4,944,759. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Public Works, DPW Director, DPW wages, municipal lights, total DPW road maintenance, total general highway, total equipment and machinery repairs, employee overtime, highway winter wage, highway winter outside wage, equipment, supplies, and materials, plowing of private ways, highway winter materials, highway winter fuel, total highway, snow and ice. Let's see. I guess we should vote on that section. Nope, I continue on. Cemetery commission salaries, cemetery commission clerk, cemetery commission clerk, MUN clerk, old cemetery expense, cemetery maintenance and improvement, Evergreen Cemetery, new lots, Evergreen Cemetery, cemetery equipment and outlay, veterans graves. I have one hold. Yes, sir.
Paul Sweeney, Williamsville Road, one of the cemetery commissions. Just curious, because I noticed in all the rest of the commissions, all the stipends have been deleted. Can I have an explanation?
FinCom? Microphone.
It is now. Okay. Simply put, because we can't afford it. We took a look, FinCom took a look at the stipends that were offered across the spectrum to the various boards and committees here in town. There's no rhyme and reason for any of it. Some get stipends. There are varying amounts of stipends. Some get none. We took a look at what other towns do. What other towns do is also varied. One thing they do, other towns do pretty much uniformly, is they offer stipends to their Board of Selectmen and to their moderator. FinCom originally recommended zeroing out all of the stipends except for the moderator and the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen graciously declined their stipends, and so that decision is what you see reflected in the budget.
Okay, you do realize that we've had committees, especially ours, for 3 years. I have only been 2 members. Makes it hard to vote. Not that it's a large amount. It's 300 and some change for 3 people, just in our committee. Now you're talking about the Board of Select Board. Yes, they gave it back because they didn't feel that it was fair that they should take theirs and nobody else gets anything. So what it is, I mean, it's peanuts. It is, and I just don't understand where we couldn't come up with roughly $15,000
Where
to
would
just
you
keep
take it
people a
from?
little bit happy.
Where would you take it from in this budget?
Oh, I'm
That
not
was
on
the-
the FinCom committee.
That was the decision that we made. We decided to keep everyone else's budgets at level funded or cut and take it from the stipend.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Yep.
Susan?
I was wondering, you took away their stipend, but do they get paid when they go to a funeral? Because according to state law, they're supposed to be there to sign the paperwork that they accepted the body. I mean, and I know that that hasn't been happening. You know, if you're not going to take the stipend away, somebody has to be there. And you bury a lot of people in Hubbardston through the years. And, you know, I just can't believe that nobody's being there for the burials.
Yes?
What's the total on the stipends that you removed?
It was about $15,000.
So could I make a motion to reinstate all the stipends in this budget that we're voting on tonight?
Can you? Yes, you can.
Okay, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. Do I see a second? Identify yourself, please. I'm sorry. Ron, you're a second? Okay. Any questions on the motion? This is a motion we need to vote before we can go on to the budget. I'm sorry? Okay, hold on a minute. Go ahead.
Elaine Peterson, 92 New Westminster Road. I'd just like to make a comment. I've served on boards and committees in the town over the years. I never expected a stipend. I did it because I wanted to do something for the town. And I do want to thank all the boards and the committees that have been getting stipends and have given it up. And I just want to say thank you for all your hard work for the town.
Thank you. Rayanne?
I'd just like to make a comment as far as if we're going to restore the stipends, we're going to have to cut from someplace else. Right now, the DPW is down $40,000. Police is down a police officer that they cannot hire. We actually have to find money for that, as well as fire. So if you want to restore $15,000 for stipend, public safety is most likely going to get cut again. So you have to weigh, is the stipend more important than your public safety? Because that's where we're going to have to take the money from.
Mr. Blanchard?
Yes, Ed Blanchard, 23 East Common Pond Road, formerly on the Finance Committee for many years. The stipends have no rhyme or reason, as the chair of the Finance Committee said. If we were going to restore these, we should have some system. It is very unfair for a Finance Committee to receive nothing for all of their work and have other boards receive other amounts. The assessor's area is one. The assessor's area stipend is very high because in the old days, they used to go out and actually do inspections of houses and for appraisals. So theirs is very high, and those just continued on and continued on. These have never been looked at as to their fairness or equivalence from board to board. So if we were going to do something from a restoration standpoint, somebody should really take a look and see what we should do for all of the people, because there's a lot of boards that are volunteer boards, and they receive nothing for their time. Thank you.
Okay. The motion before us is to restore the approximately $15,000 in stipends that has been cut. Other questions, comments? Any other questions? Okay, I see none. All in favor of the motion to, got to be quicker. Go ahead.
Larry Therian from Barry Road. I'm one of the ones that the stipend was taken away from. And I appreciate the Finance Committee, and I appreciate your letter. And I don't know about anybody else, but in my own household, I usually go about my business financially on the amount of money I have. And I usually try to have a reserve. There's no reserves. We're playing games with this money. We're flip-flopping it, and we're going to move it from here to there if it's available. We ought to start thinking ahead and say, you know, we need to have a rainy day fund. And I understand that the tax base isn't supported in any other way except the individual real estate taxes, which is shameful, to put it plain. And so therefore, I mean, to vote on a $15,000 issue when we just cleared a $300,000 increase on the school budget is crazy to me. As far as I'm concerned, the school budget should be cut to the bone. Cut to the bone. I mean, there's enough of us around here that went to school in the 40s. And believe me, the schools weren't anything like they are today.
Sir, we need to speak to the motion.
All right.
Okay.
Could I
Simple and
just
easy.
interject real quick? The town does have a rainy day fund. We have municipal capital stabilization funds. We have stabilization funds. We put money from our budget into those funds every year. And in fact, after we go through the articles here, we will have approximately 5% in our stabilization fund, which is what is recommended by best accounting practices. So
how much money is that?
right now it's, well, right at the start of this meeting it's 223. At the end of the meeting it's going to be close to 400,000, over 400,000. The numbers in the back here.
So why aren't we using some of that money to cover some
So now I need
Well,
to,
it's exactly what you said. It's a reserve fund for emergencies and to use
This is not an
stable.
emergency?
Well, I don't consider a stipend an emergency.
No, I agree. I'm going to vote against it, personally. It's the other things that I'm struggling with.
Just like you wouldn't want to use an emergency fund at your house to pay for the budget,
Gentlemen,
to pay for your own operating expenses, same thing.
we need to speak to the motion, okay?
Sorry, Ed.
I'll never get us out of here tonight, and people's eyes are glazing over. Last time to the motion, please.
Brian Cagle, Flag Road. I just want to say I think probably everybody appreciates the members of various committees, voluntarily taking a pay cut to zero. I just don't think that we really can or should go there. I mean, it's frankly a little bit pathetic, to be honest with you. The idea that our committee members who invest their time and they're also fiduciary responsibilities and being in the public eye and that sort of thing, it's just not right. It really isn't. Again, I think we all appreciate it, the reason that it was done to try to reduce budgets and to try to get the town a little bit more financially stable. I just really don't think it's right. So personally, I would like to see those stipends reinstated. Thank you.
Okay. I see no one else at the microphone and therefore no more comments. All in favor of the motion to restore the approximately $15,000 in stipend cuts, please raise your hand. All opposed? The motion fails. Now we can vote on the total for Public Works, which was $758,875. All in favor of the total, please raise your cards. Opposed? Abstain? It's voted. Human Services, Culture, and Recreation, elderly van wages, elderly van expense, Council on Aging Director, Council on Aging expense. Veterans Agent salary, Veterans Agent expense, Veterans training expense, Veterans benefits, Veterans flags. So total for Human Services, $57,902. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The line is voted. Culture and Recreation, library wages, library utilities and maintenance, library books and materials, Agricultural Commission expense, Historical Commission expense, Town Clock maintenance, Memorial Day, total celebrations, Parks and Services, total parks, and then total culture and recreation. So the line item total is $136,302. All in favor of the line, please raise your hand. Opposed, abstained, the line is voted. So unclassified, debt service, interest, short-term debt. 2013 road project, 2000 road project I, P&I. Route 68 engineering spent on 2014-15P. Route 68 engineering spent on 14-15I. DPW six-wheel dump with plow voted 2014P. DPW six-wheel dump with plow voted 2014I. Ambulance with cardiac monitor. Center School fire alarm panel. Hubbardston Fire Department engine 3P. Hubbardston Fire Department engine 3I. Sergeant SUV. Sergeant SUV bought in 2014I. Total capital budget $277,745. All in favor of the total, please raise your hand. Opposed? The line is voted. Finally, insurance. Worcester Regional Retirement, Chapter 32B health insurance, FICA assessment, unemployment compensation expense, general insurance bonds, total insurance, and then the total of unclassified is $812,957. That includes the capital budget. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? The line is voted. And then a final vote on the total operating budget, $8,212,824. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? The budget is voted. Article 13, please. To see if the Town will vote to transfer from available, are we on 12? Sorry. Article 12. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to operate ambulance enterprise as follows. Salaries, $171,868. Expenses, $75,150. Total, $247,18. That the money to be raised as follows. Department receipts, $145,000. Retained earnings, $24,399. Ambulance subsidy from free cash, $77,619. Total, $247,18. Motion?
We had a breakdown of that as well on our initial sheet.
There's an additional sheet. I don't have it. Is it the back page? Yeah. On the back page of the blue, there is a breakdown of that budget. May I have a motion? Made. Second, Dan? Okay. Ron Rustin?
Yes, Ron Rustin. The Finance Committee made a statement about how the finances in the town this year is one of the issues that they addressed was the possible consolidation or outsourcing of the ambulance service. Can anyone speak on that behalf? Is there any plans to do that? We've known that the ambulance service is costing the town so much money over the last 5-7 years. And is there any
Selectman?
Is there any method that we can utilize to minimize that?
So, let me just stand up. So, there has been discussion with the Finance Committee and through the Select Board that we will look at next year any ways to decrease the subsidy needed for ambulance services. One of the things that we implemented this year was we actually brought the charges for ambulance services, which are reimbursable from insurance, up to customary charges. We were charging far less than what is usual and customary. So that will bring in budgeted a significant increase in revenue. As far as the future of the ambulance service, there has been a lot of chatter, I should say, about whether or not we should continue ambulance service in this town. I think the way I certainly look at it is ambulance is a core function of public safety. Ambulance and police are the two things in public safety that are used most often. So to think about getting rid of ambulance, I think is very, very, very short-sighted. But, is there some discussion of ways to reduce the subsidy? Sure. But I also want to just make it clear that our ambulance is the only department that actually brings in significant revenue to offset its operating expenses. No one's asking the police to give out more tickets so that they can pay their salaries. Right, and you know, several years ago, and every year in town meeting, we've kind of gone back and forth about the way we've started budgeting for ambulance. 3-4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, it was part of the fire department budget. And if we go back and pull out some old warrants and budgets from 4 years ago or so, the fire department budget was like $450,000, and now it's in the twos. So what we did was we said, well, there's two parts to fire department. There's the fire part and there's the EMS part, and we brought the EMS part out and just put it in enterprise funds so that we can bring revenue in and offset that money. The cost of the ambulance hasn't gone up over the years. It's the same. All it is you can see actually how much the differential is between what it brings in and what the tax money that goes into it. It's always been the same. And, you know, certainly we've had conversations, Ron, about whether or not, you know, when the ambulance was sold to the town, and that was long before we were all involved in that, that it would be self-supportive. And, you know, looking back for many, many years, I don't think the ambulance really was ever self-supportive, but it brings in significant revenue to offset its costs. If you look at, in the back of your budget, the last page is the ambulance expenses. The majority of the ambulance expenses are actually wages. It's not supplies. I mean, those are peanuts. If you look at supplies and licensing fees, $3,000, you know, maintenance contracts, $4,000, but medical supplies, oxygen for $2,000, these are small items. When you start looking at call wages, weekend wages, the chief's salary, because again, the chief is the chief no matter we have an ambulance or not. So we just took half his salary, put it on the ambulance, and half into the fire budget. Holiday coverage, full-time wage. If we got rid of the ambulance or outsourced the ambulance to Woods, we're still going to have those wages because the people who ride on our ambulance are our firemen who are there during the day, and there are call firemen who are working from home at night. So if we're going to have a fire department, we're still going to have those wages in there. So if we get rid of the ambulance or outsource it, really what we're going to be saving is, I don't know, $20,000 maybe in supplies. But the bulk of the cost is still going to be there in the fire department. So now if we get rid of the ambulance, we won't have any revenue to offset that money at all. If we outsource to Woods Ambulance or some other outfit, you know, in the end, we're not going to be saving that much. As far as there's been some talk of regionalizing, and we do want to explore that a little bit. I can say we haven't explored that. How we'd regionalize an ambulance service, I'm not sure. But that's what we're going to do some due diligence this year to see how we can partner with other towns to regionalize public safety in some way. Will there be one ambulance for Templeton and Gardner and Hubbardston? No, that's ridiculous because our land area is too huge to have one coverage for that. But that is something we will try to look at. But again, the ambulance brings in a significant amount of money to offset its cost of operation. Again, the majority of the cost is wages, which are fixed. So if we get rid of an ambulance and want to save significant money, we also have to have that conversation of, do we significantly cut back or get rid of the fire department? Because it's the same people that run our fire trucks are the same people who are running our ambulance. There's no point in keeping our firemen and paying them a wage if the majority of what they do during the day, as far as calls go, are ambulance calls. So if we get rid of their ambulance calls, you know, they're left with one fire call a day. It's not a good use of resources, I think. So to answer your question, yes, we will be looking at opportunities over the course of the next year to see how we can work with other towns to maybe offset some of that cost a little bit, whether it be supplies, sharing administrative expenses, whatever. But I also want to caution you, and I'll put a pitch in for the article coming up, in order to really regionalize a service, we need an ambulance that's reliable. And, you know, not many towns are going to want to rely on an ambulance that we know has known problems. So that's, again, if we want to regionalize with somebody else, to come in with equipment that works and is functional and reliable would be the best option to help us do that. But I hope that answers some of your question, Ron.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see no other discussion. Let's vote on Article 12, please. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $15,000 to fund the Senior Citizen Work-Off Tax Abatement Program account. Motion? Made. Second. Dan? Any questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor of Article 13, please raise your hand. Opposed? The motion carries. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $20,000 for the purpose of funding preliminary design for the reconstruction of related improvements for the Main Street section of Route 68 in Hubbardston's Town Center. Motion? Made and seconded. Any questions? I see none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available sums the sum of $10,000 for the purpose of updating the town's 1988 master plan. Motion? Mike, second. Okay, Jeff. Go ahead, Vin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope everybody can hear me tonight. This motion was brought forth by the Planning Board this evening, and it is a request for originally $10,000 to update the master plan that was originally written in 1988. I don't think I have to say that we're a little bit overdue in rewriting this. The best news I can give you tonight is that we've since worked on the plan, and we now have a new proposal. So although I would like to see the $10,000 appropriated, I don't think we're going to need it. So therefore, the first order of business I'd like to conduct is to make the motion to amend the article to $5,000.
Maker, is that acceptable? Second, acceptable? Okay.
And if
we
I
have
may
the consent of the maker and the second. Okay, go ahead.
And if I may explain, we've had a wonderful relationship with a gentleman who's been our consultant on the Affordable Housing Committee. And he also has the resources to do master plan writing. And this is going to be a collaborative effort between he, the planning board, and hopefully many of the folks here in the audience that would like to get involved in this. It may take a little bit longer, but the hope is that we'll be able to produce a master plan for this meeting next year and keep it either at or under the sum of $5,000.
Thanks, Vin. Seeing no further discussion. Oh, Tom?
My name is Tom Bracco. I'm on the planning board with Vin. And as part of the planning board, my job was to get other prices from different people to do this. And I got a price from Montechusett Regional Planning, and that price was $110,000. And I got another price from another regional planning company. It was $120,000. So I really think this is a pretty good deal for everyone. We're well overdue to have this done, and it really needs to be done. If we are to do anything, including the town center reconstruction, this would all be part of it. We're lucky. We've come a long way because we have a new affordable housing plan that was just submitted to the selectmen. There's a new open space plan that's been done, or it's almost completed. So those are each one of those two things that were done were worth about $30,000, and we get them done one for $10,000 and one for free from the members of the one of the committees. So I think there's a lot of work to be done, and the planning board is committed to getting this done. And I do think the $5,000 is a more than reasonable price for it. Thank you.
Thanks for the information on some of the good things we've gotten done for us. All in favor of the revised motion, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 16, see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds a sum of $7,500 for the purpose of funding the fireworks display for the town's 250th anniversary on June 17, 2017. Questions? Seeing none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 17. see if town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to negotiate and enter an agreement for payment in lieu of taxes pursuant to provisions of General Law, Chapter 59, Section 38 HB, and Chapter 164, Section 1, or any other enabling legislation between the town and the Borrego Solar or its successors or assigns for real and or personal property attributable to two solar photovoltaic facilities to be installed, owned, and operated by Borrego Solar or its successors or assigns on land located 232 Gardner Road and 240 Gardner Road, and other identified as Assessors Maps 3, Parcel 110, Assessors Map 3, Parcel 106, for a term of up to 20 years. Such terms and conditions the Board of Selectmen deems in the best interest of the town, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take such actions may be necessary, convenient, or appropriate to implement, administer, and carry out the vote taken hereunder. Motion. Mike? Second. Dan? Yes.
I'm Carol Whitney in Williamsville Road. How many of these solar farms does Hubbardston need? We keep on, in lieu of taxes, how do we get money from them if they're not paying taxes, but they're taking all these pieces of land, huge pieces of land?
So first of all, these are private developments. These are not set up by the town, gone out and gotten by the town. So these are private landowners who go out and do this. So we have no say, first of all.
But we're giving them permits to do this.
We are giving them permits to do that. What these landowners are taking is forestry land, and land that is really of very little tax value, and they're converting it into something that is taxable. The standard practice around the state is to do these payment in lieu of taxes based on how much energy they generate. The precedent around the state is that if you actually do a property or a tax on the material that's there, the cell, the voltaic cells and everything, those are worth millions and millions of dollars. These would not be constructed, nor would they be affordable for the people to put in. So the precedent around the state that the state legislature has put forth is that these pilot programs, payment in lieu of taxes, that we are paid per megawatt that comes out of these photovoltaic cells in lieu of taxing the entire photovoltaic system.
We've got 2 on Williamsville. Has the town gotten any money from them yet?
Yes, we have.
Is it equivalent to what the taxes on that land would have been?
It was much more. Each one of those photovoltaic sites are generating, I don't have an exact number, but somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 each in taxes. Which comes into general revenue. So that's much more than the 10 acres of forestry land was making.
And they're beautiful to look at. Oh, sorry. I don't see any other comments. Okay. All in favor of Article 17, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to solicit, negotiate, and enter into one or more renewable energy power purchase and or net metering credit purchase agreements, including agreement for power and net metering credits generated by solar photovoltaic facility, each for a term of 20 years upon such terms and conditions as the Select Board deems to be in the best interest of the town. Take any action necessary to implement and administer such agreement. Motion. Michael. Second. Dan. Questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor of Article 18, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? The motion carries. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the following accounts those sums as noted below, with those sums being the remaining balances from prior spending authorizations from the general fund or free cash approved on the dates noted, to the general stabilization account as follows. So there's not too many. I'll read them quickly. A, road debt, $165,000. B, building needs study, $5,400. C, road project debt, $26,403.56. D, treasurer financial software, $237.50. Note that a 2/3 vote is required. May I have a motion? Made Dan, second Michael. Any questions or discussion on this? I do need a 2/3 vote. If the vote is not completely clear, I will count. Okay. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Thank you. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the following accounts those sums as noted below, with those sums being remaining balances from prior capital projects approved on the dates noted to the municipal capital stabilization account. Again, I'll read them quickly. A 2/3 vote required. Rehab engine 4, 4,200. Engine 3 borrowing payment 351122. Engine 3 borrowing payment 4,063.22. Police cruiser lease 271.90. Tax collector software 3340. Route 68 debt 6143.66, and DPW HD vehicle lift 479.52. Motion? Made Michael, second Dan. Any questions or discussion? Same thing, I need a 2/3 vote. Please make it clear for me. All in favor, please raise your hands. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Unanimous. To see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the following sums to pay for the following fiscal year 17 cash capital expenses.
Unanimous, yes.
Okay, fiscal year capital article table, new obligations. To pay Phase 2 of the Hubbardston Center School fire alarm panel, $25,000 from free cash. To pay the final year principal and interest cost of the fiscal 68 of the Route 68 engineering bond, $45,900 from free cash. To fund the purchase of a police cruiser and any related equipment for the police department, $35,788 free cash. To fund the purchase of an administrative police cruiser and any related equipment for the police department, $25,000 from free cash. To fund the repair of the Slade Building roof, including all cost incidentals thereto, $10,000 free cash, a total of $141,688. Do I have a motion? Michael, second Dan. Elaine.
Yes, what is an administrative police cruiser?
I'm going to have the Chief of Police answer that one, if you wouldn't mind, Dennis.
Dennis, I knew we'd get you in here tonight. Not to say you're off the wall, Dennis. Come on up here.
So the administrative police cruiser is replacing the 2007 Ford Explorer that we bought used in 2007. It was off a lease. The vehicle is no longer police safe, can no longer be used for any police purpose whatsoever. And I personally drive that a large majority of the time. This particular cruiser is also used for certain undercover assignments, certain low-profile radar assignments, certain underage drinking assignments. So there's multiple purpose within the administrative use of this vehicle, other than just my use. It is used for other purposes within the town.
Thank you, Chief. Oh, Mr. Blanchard for the Chief.
Are these the actual costs of the vehicles, or are these the costs of the vehicles after trade-in?
That, the $25,000 is probably more than we'll need once the trade-in is factored in for the 2007 Explorer. The actual cost of the Explorer for the patrol officers that's replacing the 2011 Crown Victoria is actually low. It should be $1,000 more, which we'll have to work with MHQ to correct that, because that number was requested of me back in October in a new model year. In the bid price, it was increased since then.
What is the total cost of the administrative police cruiser?
I don't have a total cost at this time. I'm still collecting bids from different vendors.
Wow.
25,000.
Correct.
You can't go above 25,000.
Right, the 25,000 is the limit. It will not go above 25,000. So 25,000 is the top end. When you factor in whatever trade we're able to get, I anticipate it being less than $25,000.
Thank you. I see no other questions or discussion. So all in favor of Article 21, total 141,688, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Article 22 also requires a two-thirds vote. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $250,000 by taxation, by transfer from available funds, by borrowing, or any other combination, to purchase a new ambulance and any related equipment, including all costs incidental and related thereto for the fire department, and to meet said appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow the full amount of such appropriation under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or any other general or special law, to issue bonds or notes to the town in connection therewith, provided, however, that the vote taken hereunder shall be expressly contingent upon approval by the voters of a ballot question to exclude the amounts required to pay for the expenditure of such projects from the provisions of Prop 2.5. Motion and second. Do we have a designation of funding sources, gentlemen?
This would be a 2.5 debt exclusion, a one-time debt exclusion.
Will it be bonded, or how? It's not clear from the way the article is worded. Is it going to be raised and appropriated?
No, it would be raised and appropriated through a 2.5 debt exclusion as a one-time.
Okay.
One time.
Questions or discussion? So this is a vote to authorize a Prop 2.5 override in the election. Mr. Blanchard.
Could we hear from the Finance Committee why they are not recommending this article?
FinCom?
FinCom doesn't recommend this because, any better? That's better. Okay. FinCom doesn't recommend this because the Board of Selectmen haven't decided, as you heard, whether we're going to regionalize, whether we're going to outsource, or what exactly is happening with the ambulance service itself. If and when the decision is made, FinCom will revisit this request. But for today, this is where we are.
Yes, sir. Identify yourself, please.
Hi, Hayden Duggan, 20 Purchase Road. I'd just like to speak in favor of it, notwithstanding what may happen in the future. I don't think it's something we are proud of that we've turned it down twice. So let me just say a few words about an ambulance. An ambulance is not a snowplow. Not that we don't need those, or a dump truck, not that we don't need those, or a cruiser, not that we don't need those. An ambulance is an extension of the emergency room as emergency medicine is currently practiced. And brain death starts within 4 to 6 minutes if somebody's having a heart attack. We're very lucky in this town that over the years we've developed an emergency medical service, and we have studied our response times, and we have done research on that within a reasonable distance from the station, we generally make those national standards, 4 to 6, 8 minutes. Unfortunately, at night, when it's an all-call service, those response times double. So if your loved one's having a heart attack or a stroke or a serious medical event, what you want is the best possible medical care that you can get. Now, years ago, we had an old bread truck. And the old bread truck, what we did was, we had EMTs then, we responded to the scene and we stabilized and packaged the person, and then we waited. And we waited. And we waited for a private ambulance if it was available. Nothing against that service. It's a fine service, but it's a long way away. If there's a truck available, then they'll come. But one of the reasons we went to our own ambulance was due to several medical events, including a car into a lake where we had to wait 40 minutes for an ambulance. So this town voted to have its own ambulance. We started out with EMTs. Then after EMTs, we moved to emergency medical technician intermediate level so that we would not have to wait for an out-of-town truck to put a line in a person or to intubate. And a lot of people in the fire department spent many hours and a lot of their own time, 7 or 8 of them, to become intermediate technicians, which raised the standard of the ambulance service in this town. And it helped a lot of people. Then after that, we went to a paramedic level ambulance, which is the envy of a number of towns. There are not that many towns around here where during the day, if your loved one is having a heart attack or a medical emergency, you get a medic level truck There are lots of towns where you have to wait for a paramedic. So we have that already. And even at night, we also have paramedic level response. So why should you care about this? We don't want to go backwards. And right now, we have 2 ambulances that are old. Even the other one, the one that is the 05 ambulance, A2, has the same amount of mileage. It's already 4 to 5 years past what is generally industry accepted standards for how long an ambulance should be on the road. We're already 4 to 5 years after that. The amount of equipment that's needed for a current state-of-the-art ambulance increases every year. The amount of training that your medics and paramedics need, and your EMTs, to be able to serve you increases. They get paid very little. And a lot of them do this because they care about the town. One of the reasons we went to having the best ambulance we could was so that we could take care of people in this town in the event of a medical emergency. It should be a priority. And we should update what we have, which is woefully out of date, let alone the equipment, which is 14 years old. Cardiac monitors and defibs now are state-of-the-art. They save people's lives. Without them, people do not as many people do get saved. There's a lot of equipment we don't even have on here that neighboring towns have, like an automatic CPR machine, what's called the Lucas. That's not even in the budget. So it's not like we're doing an expensive, extravagant ambulance. This is way out of date. Sometimes it doesn't start, and it's old, and it needs to be replaced for you, not for their benefit, but for the people in this town. So we should have a state-of-the-art, excellent ambulance, and we're lucky that we have a medic-level ambulance as it is. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Hayden. Lana?
Hello, my name is Laura Foley from 12 Pitcherville Road. I will be very brief. A week or two ago, I saw a Hubbardston ambulance hitching a free ride on the back of a tow truck because it had broken down. It did not fill me with a lot of confidence, and it made me keenly aware of the fact that we do need to replace failing equipment. So I would like to argue in favor of buying a new ambulance.
Thank you, Laura. Do I see no more discussion. Oh, Mike?
So just in response to the regionalization, which I think I already covered before, regionalization could work, and we have to investigate that, but I don't foresee many scenarios where, again, there's one ambulance for an entire region. I mean, Hubbardston alone is 44 square miles. And if you try to have 1 or 2 ambulances cover 3 or 4 of these big central mass towns, there's not going to be ambulances available. So I think in most scenarios of regionalization that make sense and will work, we're going to need to have our own ambulance, and it's more of a regionalization kind of an administrative function, not at the ambulance level. This was presented before as a Prop 2.5 debt exclusion. The last time it was presented, it was going to be taken out over 5 years. It was $23 and change every year in our taxes for 5 years. We opted this time to go with a 1 year a 1 year tax hit, and on the average house in Hubbardston it's $142, and it's for one time. We have a new ambulance that'll last us another 12 plus years. I've also had questions of why don't you buy a used ambulance? That's come up. We have looked, but ambulances aren't like cars that we lease for a couple years and then give back, and then there's a whole bunch on the lot. There's very, very few ambulances because they're expensive, towns buy them, they use them for a long time, and when they go to sell them, they're selling a 12 or 14-year-old ambulance that we're just trading our problem for their problem. So this is a piece of equipment that we're going to have for a long, long time, and we might as well get one that works and is reliable. Thank you.
Okay, I see no other questions. So we're voting on Article 22 to list the ambulance on an override vote. I need a 2/3 vote. If I need to count, I will. All in favor, please raise your card. Opposed? 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 opposed. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 opposed. Abstentions? None. The motion carries. Article 23. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate an additional sum of $280,158 to additionally fund the operations of Quabbin Regional School District for fiscal year 2017, provided, however, that the appropriation of the supplemental amount of $280,158 will be contingent upon successful passage of a Prop 2.5 override by the voters of the town in accordance with General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21CG. I'm not seeing this. I think this is a two-thirds vote, isn't it? Yeah, it's not noted, but this is a two-thirds vote. May I have a motion? Motion made. Second. Dan? Borrowing requires two-thirds?
Borrowing is two-thirds.
Okay.
This is the borrowing.
Okay. Council says this is a simple majority because it does not involve borrowing. Okay? We discussed this article before. We can have... motion, Mike? Do you have a motion? Motion, Jeff? Second, Mike? Okay. Is there any discussion or conversation about this? We had some conversation on it earlier. Does anyone have any questions? FinCom?
No, I know. On. FinCom doesn't recommend this because we frankly think we can do better. We don't think that we think that the school budget needs further examination. We think that it can be cut further and responsibly, and that's pretty much it.
Other questions or comments? I'm not saying any. So this is a vote to put the budget amount of $280,000 on the override vote, override ballot. Simple majority. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Oh boy, I got to count. Jamie, would you count on your side? Would you mind counting on this side? Yes, please. So let's do the vote again. Put your hands down. So, all in favor, please hold your cards up high so that the counters can count. You guys voting here? No. Something like that. She has the number. Okay, all opposed, please raise your hand and keep it up. The vote is 84 yes, 80 no. The motion prevails. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $50,000 from the Community Preservation Housing Reserve to help establish an affordable housing program under the auspices of the Planning Board to assist the town in meeting the state goal of creating a minimum of 10% of the town's total housing units pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, Section 20, eligible for inclusion on the DHCD Subsidized Housing Inventory, SHI. Do I have a motion, please? Motion, Mr. Bratko. And second, Mike? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, this is Tom Bratko on the planning board. We started working on the affordable housing plan, and how long was it? A year ago? Oh, was it a year ago we did the planning? When did we start the plan? We started the housing plan redoing the housing plan about a year or so ago. Out of that housing plan came an idea that we provide affordable housing, try to do some more work with affordable housing in town. Okay, so we need to give or provide by state law 10% of our town should be affordable housing, or we could have a unfriendly 40B come in, which means the developer could come in and build whatever he wants without regard to any of our zoning. So we came up with this program. It's a pilot program. So what we're going to do is we're asking for $50,000. $40,000 of that is going to be direct. We're going to try to get people to agree to buy a house who is a low-income people, not low-income, affordable income people, to buy a house, and that house will be deeded. What the town is buying for that money is a deeded restriction on that property. So just to throw out some numbers there, an affordable three-bedroom house in this town is considered about $200,000. If there's a young couple or any couple, not just young couple, but a couple or some people wanted to buy a house and they didn't have enough for a down payment, we would be providing a grant, or would actually not even a grant. The town would be purchasing a deed restriction on that property, so they would not be able to, so they could buy the property. As the property values in town goes up, so say if that house in 10 years was worth $250,000, but the affordable rate of that house is only worth $225,000, that couple or that person who bought the house could only sell that house to another affordable affordable income family for $225,000. This is going to enable people to be able, young people and older people, I guess, to come into town, get new people in the town to buy some of these older homes that are selling for below market value or below the affordable rate. Now, the affordable income for something like this for a family of four is about $85,000. So this is not low-income people. This is just affordable income. People, and this is all directed what they can sell the property for and what their income has to be. So this would be a great program for, say, a firefighter or a teacher or some work at a highway department in town, or any new families. We really want to bring in new families into the town and try to improve the housing stock.
Okay.
So I'll take any questions if anyone has it.
Does anyone have any questions for Tom? Ron, behind you.
Ron Rustin again. Question about like adding a shed.
A little closer to the mic, or
question about adding the sell value, the resale value. If the person adds a shed or does prices in the market go up, but what about inflation? Otherwise, that house is going to stay at that price, and one person is going to probably stay in that house forever.
Well, I think the question he's asking, if they do home improvements or they build a house or a garage, yeah, they still cannot sell that property. So if they added 2 bedrooms, then you would go to an affordable house price for a 5-bedroom house if we went from 3-bedroom. But if they added a shed or something like that, they're adding value to the property. But no, that's not going to change the deed restriction on it. It will always be an affordable house in the town.
Okay. Mr. Blanchard.
All Chapter 40B programs have to go through the Zoning Board of Appeals. And about 4 years ago, the Zoning Board of Appeals spent $14,000 on an affordable housing program. That particular document was updated by the Planning Board, and they spent, between $10,000 and $20,000 to do that.
It was $10,000.
$10,000 to do that. To date, we have the program, but we haven't put the program in place, and it requires some personnel to do that. So if we're really going to put together an affordable housing program, we need to have personnel in town that can manage it. And I think this is getting us into the real estate business that we really don't need. If we have someone come and do a 40B project in town, we have the appropriate plan in place that will protect the town from a 40B project and make sure it's done well. So I don't see how we're going to get to be 10% affordable housing in Hubbardston, and I think this gets us into the real estate.
Okay, Cecil?
Can I just answer that?
Oh, you want to answer that? Okay, Tom.
Just want to answer that question. The town will never actually be buying a piece of property. All we would be doing, someone would come to the town and provide it and would apply for this program, and they would take the money. They would be able to take the money to be able to buy this house. The town would never ever own any piece of property belonging to us. But we can also use this money for working with Habitat for Humanity to take an old building. So Habitat for Humanity would come in, buy a building that's derelict. I think there might even be one on the town warrant. Buy a building that's derelict, come in. We could provide startup funds to be able to maybe help provide a well for $4,000 or $5,000, and they're going to build a completely brand new house, and that house will be deeded to affordable housing. And they will have a piece of property that was an eyesore and is fixed up, and we'll be collecting taxes on it. Don't forget, if these people buy these properties, most people when they buy a piece of property to live in, they're going to improve it, which will include the value of the property taxes in the town.
Okay, so before Cecil talks, we've arrived at the time that I warned you about earlier. There's a little bit of sagging going on and glazing and stuff, and all these people aren't going to the bathroom, I'm sure. So let's do this. I'd say let's take a break, but I'm afraid I'd lose some more. So I want to commit to you, we have like 10 articles left. And I think we can say we really ought to be able to do this in 45 or 50 minutes. Let's keep that in mind as we're making comments on things that we already know how the vote's going to go. Cecil, go ahead.
So I just want to ask, what happens if the mortgage goes into default? Where's this town stand then?
Tom?
That's a good question. The town doesn't stand anywhere. It has nothing to do with the town. Okay, the mortgage, the person, if they defaulted on their mortgage, the bank would take the house and they would auction it off. But the bank could not auction that house off for more than an affordable price, and they could not sell that house or let someone buy it who is not an affordable family or income-generated family.
Okay, Vin, last quick comment on this one.
Yes, I will be quick. I just wanted to clarify that this is a program that has been started by the planning board over the last year and a half, and it has now come to the, fortunately, to the Community Preservation Committee, who has offered to help. We are mandated by the state to provide up to 10% of our housing stock qualified as affordable. And in order to achieve that, it's a very difficult task. So this money is coming out of the Community Preservation Fund to help clear titles of property that may be donated to us, to help perhaps purchase land that then can be donated to Habitat of Humanity. It's simply another method of trying to achieve our goals of affordable housing, which will not cost us any more because we already have this $50,000 in the Community Preservation Fund, and it is dedicated for affordable housing. It's now finally going to be used in conjunction with the Planning Board's Affordable Housing Committee. So I hope everybody realizes it won't cost you anything, but it already does, I guess, but it is money that will be well spent.
Okay, does everyone understand that last comment and what's going on? Okay, let's vote. All in favor of Article 24, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain, the motion carries. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $5,000 from the Community Preservation Historic Reserve to help create a long-range plan, Hubbardston Public Library, to assist the library in applying for future grant funding to preserve, rehabilitate, and restore the library. Motion made Dan, second Mike. Any questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $10,100 from Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve to cover the final year of the borrowing associated with the Hubbardston Center School Playground Committee project, approved at the special town meeting April 23, 2013. Motion made Dan, second Michael. Any questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Article 27, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $25,500 from the Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve to cover the final year of borrowing associated with the Hubbardston Parks Committee project approved at the annual town meeting June 4th, 2013. Motion? Dan, second. Mike. Any questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? The motion carries. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a reserve from the Community Preservation annual revenues in the amounts recommended to the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects, and other expenses fiscal year 2017, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Okay, so the appropriations administrative expense 5% is $3199.50. Reserves, estimated revenues for historic resource reserve $63.99. Estimated reserve community housing reserve $63.99. I think I read these numbers once. Estimated revenues for open space reserve $63.99. Estimated revenues budgeted reserve $41,593.50. Do I have a motion, please? Made. Second. Questions or discussion? I see none. All in favor of Article 28, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Article 29, to see if the town will vote to rescind Article 22 of June 2nd, 2015 annual town meeting, under which the town voted to authorize the acquisition of certain parcels of land located on Mount Jefferson Road and Malone Road, adjacent to the existing Malone Road Conservation Area, and appropriated the sum of $467,000 for said purchase. Two-thirds vote is required. Do I have a motion, please? Motion made, Dan. Second. Mike. Do I have any questions or discussion? Okay. I see none. I guess everybody understands this. Let's see how we do with the two-thirds vote again. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 opposed. Abstain. The motion carries. Article 30. I have a note here that this article will be withdrawn. Therefore, for lack of a motion, we will pass to the next article. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to readopt Article 6, the rate of development of the Hubbardston zoning bylaws in its entirety, and to amend Section 6.8, periodic review and expiration, by removing, quote, "This bylaw shall expire January 18th, 2015, and replacing it with, "This bylaw shall expire July 1st, 2021. Mr. Ritchie, there is a... we have a two-thirds vote required for this. Yes, sir.
Yes, this is another article proposed by the Planning Board, and I'd like to read the report I have for you folks on that. This was an article that had a public hearing on May the 4th, and the proposition is to readopt Article 6, the rate of development bylaw of the Hubbardston zoning bylaws, scheduled on the town warrant as Article 31. The previous rate of development bylaw expired in 2015, and the new motion proposes to readopt the same article, but change the expiration date to July 1, 2021. The Planning Board submitted this article. There were no attendees from the community at the hearing. The Planning Board feels this bylaw has proven to be a very successful tool in helping the town plan and prepare under controlled growth procedures for its future. The Planning Board strongly supports and recommends the readoption of this bylaw.
Mr. Ritchie, you make the motion?
I so move.
Dan, second? Okay. Any questions for Mr. Ritchie or discussion? I see none. I need, let's see, I need a two-thirds vote on this one. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 opposed, abstain, 2 abstentions. The motion carries. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to approve the following earth-filling bylaw as Article 21 of the Hubbardston Town Meeting. Requires a two-thirds vote. This is a very long bylaw, which I'm not going to read. Hopefully you prepared it ahead of time. Let's go right. I need a motion.
So moved. Article 32.
Second, Mr. Ritchie. Okay. Go ahead.
Marion DePinto.
Excuse me.
Mr. Ritchie.
I'd like to read the planning board report as required first, if I may.
The maker of the motion will speak to the article first.
Very well.
Go ahead.
Marion DePinto, 90 New Templeton Road. I'm also a member of the planning board, but in the course of our discussion, I chose to put forth a citizen petition that was signed by 10 citizens. The draft that you have in your warrant has two typos, thanks to voice recognition. The word feeling in section 21.33 should be filling, and 21.4B should also not say feeling, but filling. The town has an earth removal bylaw, but it does not regulate large-scale earth filling activities. There's some that are currently ongoing in town. What is the source of that fill? What is the quantity? What is the quality? What are the details? Where is it going? How much is it going? How frequently is the fill coming in? Those are bits of information we do not have on some of the large-scale projects. Rather than outright ban the importation of all soil into town, this bylaw instead will regulate it to accomplish the same purpose, protecting the public interests of your community. It comes down basically to a balance between your private rights as a landowner to use your land as you see fit, but also it protects the public interests of the larger community for public health, safety, clean air, clean water. So it's a balance, and that balancing act requires regulation. This earth-filling bylaw does both of those things. It maintains that balance. It was modeled after another town's bylaw, which has been in existence since 2003. It has passed the Attorney General's review. In this bylaw, there are two permits. A small fill permit for greater than 500 cubic yards, but less than 2,000 cubic yards. Picture this, it's 20 truckloads, 20 10-wheelers would be 500 cubic yards, thereabouts, and up to 80 truckloads. A large fill permit would be for something greater than or equal to 2,000 cubic yards. By regulating the activity, the work can be approved and conditioned or denied to protect the public interests. Thank you.
Marianne, can I just ask you a quick question on that? You said that currently ongoing in town?
Yes, there are examples of over on Williamsville Road, there's a large project where there are truckloads of fill coming in.
So just just some filling project?
There's a filling project going on, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marianne. Mr. Ritchie, Planning Board.
Once again, I have a report from the planning board on the hearing that we held on May the 31st on this initiative petition. This is again presented as amendment to the Hubbardston zoning bylaws entitled Article 21, Earth Filling, and again considered as Article 32 on your warrant. The purpose of this proposed article is to regulate filling operations for the protection of human health, public safety, welfare, and the integrity of the natural resources of the town of Hubbardston. Petition author, Ms. Marianne DePinto, began the testimony by explaining the lengthy article. She testified that a draft of the article was printed in the warrant and not the final article that she had submitted. She then proceeded to explain the differences and the mistakes that need to be corrected and amended on the floor of the meeting to bring the draft article to the standards of her final article. In general, the main points needed to be changed would be to make the permit granting authority, the planning board, the dates for review and hearings revised, and the standards better defined. These changes would make this article compatible with our general earth removal bylaw. Ms. DePinto also spoke of the need to regulate all soils coming to town, not just those that fall under DEP regulations. Testimony from residents indicated concern over enforcement, regulation of this activity, pointing out that bylaws, especially the sign bylaw, are poorly enforced now and question the difficulty of enforcing such a complicated bylaw effectively. It was noted that there was no criteria in the proposal for the town to deny an activity it did not want, and therefore it would be better to prohibit these activities than to try to regulate them. Additional comments. There was concern for the negative effect of real estate values in town if contaminated soils were allowed to be deposited because the town cannot limit this activity to a certain area. Therefore, the whole town would be available for this use. Mr. Lee Gross, Gardner Conservation Officer, again expressed his concern that the Gardner water resources be protected. The more concern was voiced for the large volume of truck traffic and the consequences of that traffic on our roads was expressed. Excuse me. The Planning Board is strongly opposed to this article. However, the Planning Board and Ms. DePinto reached an agreement that due to the complicated nature of the article and the errors in the version printed in tonight's warrant, draft version, that it would be best to pass over this article at the June 7th meeting and bring it back in the corrected, edited form at the fall town meeting. The Planning Board's recommendation is to pass over Article 32. Should I put that in the form of a motion?
You may.
I so move to pass over Article 32.
Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Bratko. Discussion on the motion to pass over. I see none. Oh, Laura?
Laura Foley, are the only incorrect words feeling to filling, or are there a lot more inconsistencies, errors, omissions, edits that we need to be aware of?
Mr. Ritchie?
The Planning Board feels that in order to make this a consistent article with our general bylaw that regulates earth removal, that it would be needed to be revised. And I am prepared to make the amendments tonight on the floor that we would like to see inserted into this article. And I beg your pardon, I know it's a long, mainly difficult process to do, but amending this 4-page article is something we hope to be able to do to bring back in the fall. And again, that's why the official recommendation is to pass over, so the article can be worked to the benefit of the town.
Okay. Is there other discussion on the motion to pass over?
Mary Ann DePinto again. In going back over the article, I debated on the various changes, and I saw what the other towns had done, and that the small fill permit for 500 to 2,000 cubic yards, it was indicated that the building inspector would be the one to issue that permit. And at first the thought was, well, he's not around in town that much, but there aren't that many of those permits, and that building inspector does issue permits for other building activities in town. So, in thinking it over, I felt that the article should stand as it is.
Thank you. Matt?
Yeah, I'd like to make all the amendments tonight with Mr. Ritchie bringing them up here and doing, and we can vote on them and pass the article. As you know, somebody is right now trying to bring a toxic waste dump to town, and if we don't have this in place, he may be able to get it through in a quicker manner. If we don't have this passed tonight, we're at serious risk that we're going to get a toxic waste dump in here.
Thank you, Matt. Tom?
Speaking of the potential project that was coming into town, that project hasn't even been proposed in the town, and we don't even know if it ever will be proposed. It is a proposal into the DEP, but the proposal as given to the town, given to DEP, is actually banned by the zoning that we have right now. And Mary Ann's article is not going to change whether or not that project would be allowed or not. As it sits right now, that project should not be allowed. So I really recommend that we pass over this article tonight because it needs a lot of work. Mary Ann sat there and made all the changes with us that night, and she was on board doing all these changes, and then she changed her mind, which is obviously her right to do. But the planning board's been working overtime on all this stuff, and there are so many changes that have to be done to this and has to be vetted that it's best to really leave this to another town meeting so we have time to go over this and really vet the process. And the other thing is, this is such an extremely complicated regulation. We can't even enforce the zoning the sign bylaws. You know, GFA Bank has their sign up there. It's not supposed to be like that. I could go through a litany of all the places in town that aren't conforming to our zoning, and we do absolutely nothing, and we haven't for 30 years I've lived here. So I really recommend that we pass over this article.
Okay.
And
thank you, Tom.
do it another time.
Mary Ann, I'll give you a little latitude here. Third time to the motion.
Okay, all right. The last thing to respond. It's my understanding that in order for me to amend this as a citizen's petition, I would have to go back to get signatures. Hence, the reason for keeping all of the article as is.
Okay. I think we've had full discussion. I think we have enough to understand the issues in front of us. So this does require a 2/3 vote. I have counters if we need them. The motion to pass over. I'm sorry. So the motion is to pass over, which means we take no action on it tonight. That's a simple majority. All in favor of passing over, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? It's passed over. Article 33. To see if the town will vote to approve the following importation of material bylaw as Chapter 27 of Hubbardston General Bylaws. Chapter 27, Importation Materials, Section 1, no person shall import or deposit within town of Hubbardston any hazardous waste or contaminated soil taken from without the town limits, excluding but not limited to those waste or contaminants or soils as defined in DEP policy number COMM 97-001, DEP policy COMM-94-007, DEP policy COMM-15-01, soils defined in 310 CMR 40.000. Do I have a motion, please?
Motion made.
Mark. And do I have a second, please? Mr. Ritchie. Mr. Dimick?
Yes, I have a slide presentation I'd like to present to projector.
You know, usually we get approval ahead of time on that. Nobody's asked me for that right now. How long is your slide presentation?
It's very brief, and I did ask at the beginning of the meeting.
Well, Mr. Galanti had a 5-minute talk at the beginning of the meeting that was very brief.
I hope he didn't steal my thunder.
Are we talking 2 minutes or 22 minutes?
I can't control that. This is a very quick presentation, though.
That's what I'm saying. It's just a couple minutes?
Yeah.
If there's no objection, then I'll allow it. Is there any objection? Okay. Can Vin talk while you're finding the file? Mr. Ritchie, were you next in line? Would you like to talk while we're fumbling around up here?
Thank you, Mr. Monitor. I have the planning board report for you on this. May 31st, 2016, the planning board held a hearing on this article, which appears as Article 33 on tonight's warrant. This is the first hearing that we heard on the Citizens Initiative petition to amend the Town of Hubbardston General Bylaws by adding, adding Chapter 27, Importation of Material. This proposal would prohibit the importation and depositing of any hazardous or contaminated soils in Hubbardston, especially soils defined in DEP policies COMM-97-001, 94-007, 15-01, and in 310 CMR 40. This amendment, again, as I said, is referenced in the town meeting warrant as Article 33. Testimony was taken on the technical aspects and contents of the above-mentioned soils and the serious and potential dangerous effects of the accumulated volumes of heavy metals, hazardous materials, and chemicals. The proponents of the article spoke in favor of it being adopted and prohibiting those soils from being deposited in any part of the town. The conservation agent from the City of Gardner, Mr. Jeff Legros, testified that the City of Gardner was concerned that if any of these soils were deposited into the section of town where the city's wellhead protection zone was, they may contaminate their city's water supply. Additionally, Mr. Legros and others expressed concern over the large number of trucks transporting this material to town, the degradation of our roads, safety of our children, potential of accidental spills and contamination, noise pollution, and offensive odors. Concern was also expressed that this type of activity would adversely affect the town's real estate values. No one spoke against adopting this proposed amendment. The Planning Board strongly recommends this proposed amendment to the general bylaws be adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Mr. Dimick?
Yeah, unfortunately, there was a technical difficulty. We weren't able to find the slideshow.
We're not
luckily,
complaining.
You're going to see me in my Speedo. Essentially, the purpose behind this proposed bylaw is there was a proposal for someone who wanted to bring hazardous waste into the town. Although it was considered low-level hazardous waste, the material they wanted to transport in contains a component of hazardous waste. A whole host of materials Tom's going to talk about after, arsenic, lead, you name it, can be imported with this type of material. It's essentially coming out of the greater Boston and large metro areas, and the purpose of it is cleaning up hazardous waste sites, 21E sites. The state needs a place to put it, so what they did is they came up with a couple of policies that kind of deregulated it and made it so that the towns could consider it a potential to import into their community and put into old gravel banks, quarries, farmers' fields, any place really in the entire community this material can be imported to. There's really no benefit to the town to have this. It's not going to increase the tax base. There's no revenue associated for the town with that. We just didn't think it was necessary to have the town become a host site for hazardous material. And although, again, it's a small amount, when you have millions of yards with a very small component, you do wind up with a lot of potential hazardous material. And Tom Robinson would like to speak to the article. Okay. A little more information.
Mary Ann?
Yes. Because of this article, I went to DEP on Friday and spoke at length with Paul Vigent, who is the Central Mass Coordinator for the program that involves COMM-15-01. Hazardous waste don't get to be moved around. They don't get to create a new hazardous waste site somewhere. The reason that DEP is regulating soil is because they don't want to move the hazardous wastes around. They're bringing clean soil in, and specifically, 15-01 would not allow you to bring any sand or gravel into town from outside of town. No clean soils can be brought in, hence the need to regulate it and test the soils to be certain that what they are bringing in is clean, as opposed to banning all soil importation, which would include importing clean soils as well.
Thank you.
Real quickly, I'd like to address that.
Mr. Dimick, second time to the article, okay? Go ahead.
Yes, that's not necessarily true. This does nothing to ban material that's not hazardous. Gravel, sand, loam, bark mulch is not considered hazardous. It would not be prohibited under this bylaw. COM policy 15-01. To be eligible, this is right from the state's website, to be eligible for Mass DEP approval pursuant to this interim policy, the soil accepted by the quarry, gravel pit, or sand pit contain no more than the small amount of quantities of solid waste, municipal solid waste, or construction or demolition waste as defined in C310 CMR 16.00 and 310 CMR 19.00. This is not clean material.
Thank you, sir. Tom?
There's a couple questions about this material. The DEP would like to claim that it's not hazardous, but from that same policy, 15, they list the fact that it can be hazardous and it can be adverse human health and environmental effects. Among them are contamination of an aquifer by leaching, human exposure through direct contact of the soil, inhaling vapors or particulate matter, degradation of wildlife, degradation of neighboring properties, wetlands, waterways, and exacerbation of local flooding. This is from their own policy. It's hardly a denial of hazardousness, if that's a word. The other claims that are made by some of the proponents of such projects are that the soil that comes in is no worse than the native soil. And this is not true. The native soil such a project as happened in Rutland at the Jordan Farm, the native soils were measured, and then a rule of thumb is applied according to a similar soils policy formulated by the waste site cleanup folks at the DEP. And you can apply a factor of 10 such that the material coming in can be 10 times more contaminated of a particular species than the native soils. I had a slideshow which seems to be suffering from the same technical difficulties. But here it is. There's a chart. And I went through the 5-page list of chemicals that, or species of contaminants that can be imported into the Jordan Farm in Rutland, and I went through it and determined what kind of a factor did they use. Did they use 2, 5, 10? And for a product like lead, they use the factor of 2. For mercury, they use the factor of 10. Arsenic, they use the factor of 1. Some chemicals were not found in the soil, and they still let you import up to 1/2 of a certain criteria, RSC number 1. These numbers are small, but when you import 2 or 3 million tons of material, 1 part per million would mean you get 3 tons of it. 10 parts per million would mean you get 30 tons of it. So small numbers add up to large quantities. Arsenic, for instance, at 20 parts per million in a 3 million ton pile is 60 tons of arsenic. That's 3 truckloads at 20 tons each. Lead, 200 parts per million with a 3 million ton waste pile, that's 600 tons. It's 30 trucks of just lead. I don't know how we can bring this material into the town with a good conscience. It'll affect, as mentioned earlier, Gardner's water supply, or it could affect Boston's supply, depending on where it comes from. Also, the state policy lets the town consider things like truck traffic and dust and noise, but it doesn't let the town consider what kinds of materials are actually dumped. That is a private negotiation between the state DEP and the waste dumper. I think we need to inject ourselves into that and prohibit it. Thank you very much.
If I could, Mark, I'll allow you as the maker of the motion to speak last. I'm trying to move to some closure here. I'm going to recognize Mike and then Alan, Tom. Do you want to speak last, or do you want to speak?
I'll speak last if there's any questions.
Well, that's fine. Michael?
So I agree we don't need a hazardous waste dump in town. However, I'm going to suggest to the body that we, as Mr. Ritchie asked, to pass over the other zoning bylaw, that we consider passing this one over until a fall town meeting. Could I explain myself real quick?
Please, we're so close to that 45 minutes.
People are throwing out things like COM 97001 and COM 1501, which I don't think any of us really have an idea what those are. Well, you do, but I don't think the general public does.
Whoa. You've been so good tonight. Michael, you're causing trouble. Finish up.
So I agree 100%. I don't want it. But I think in fairness, for people to understand what these things are, should we, it's a question to the body, should we, at a town meeting in several months, like Mr. Ritchie said, should we have a presentation with what these things mean rather than just throwing out these words?
Mr. Ollie, with all your finest brevity, sir.
Okay. Alan Oley, Williamsville Road. Actually, I'm having a flashback to the 90s when the town came together to oppose and shoot down bringing in historic fill from Boston. It was meant to protect the house values, the water, the environment, and there was a whole planning. B Sharp Committee came and shot this down. Why are we, we should be learning from history rather than going for the dollar signs all over again. And I know a lot of new people are in town, but hey, I remember that. I was on Conservation Commission.
Do you remember the one from the earlier 70s to bring Cambridge refuse out here somehow?
Excuse me?
Cambridge, yeah. Go ahead.
No.
The line is getting longer and the time is getting shorter.
Okay.
Alan?
Enough said. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie, last time.
All right, who's the wise guy? I don't know if any of you folks have had the opportunity to travel Route 68 when they're dumping this stuff on the Jordan Farm in Rutland, but it would gag you if you had the chance to drive by. The odor is awful. I'm going to take my planning board hat off for a minute, and I'm going to tell you my opinion of this. I don't want this crap in our town. And I move the vote.
No, I'm not accepting a second on that. Let's let the last people finish and then we'll go on. Yes.
I would like to remind Michael that there has been a great effort to get this information out to the town.
Closer.
There's been a great effort to get this information out to the town. Some people may remember that back in November, there was a press release put out by our former town administrator, Anita Shipers, mentioning this proposal and assuring the town that they would have plenty of meetings and plenty of hearings so that they could learn about this material and make an informed decision. A hearing was scheduled, or a meeting was scheduled for January 11th. That was canceled. Since that time, the planning board has been trying to get this proposal put before the town so that there could be informational hearings. The select board has denied any knowledge of having that proposal, but the proposal exists. So to say now that they want the town to have the opportunity to talk about this and to think about this is ridiculous.
Moving to a vote. Tom, last time.
Well, this is the proposal that the selectmen say they don't know about. That's the proposal that they keep saying they don't know anything about. We did a records request from the selectman's office, and out of Anita Shapers' papers that she had there, this is not a 1.5 million yard project. According to her records, just on the pit, one of the pits, it's 6 million. Okay? We're talking about 6 million yards. 6 million yards. This was from there.
Okay, are you good?
No, I'm not good. We're going to go on a little bit longer.
Okay.
This is very important to come out. Okay, we're talking millions and millions of yards. I have documents that were sent to Anita there that the owners of this pit were negotiating to buy the Marinelli pit. They were happy they were doing that. Okay, and that's another 50 or 60 acres. Okay, also unknown to anyone in this town, Anita was negotiating with Mr. Brown to buy the town pit. And all this time, the selectmen say they don't know that. They said that last night at a meeting with us. I take them at their word they didn't need it. But there's a lot of stuff going on. Another thing, the reason that proposal was able to go to DEP because in that, we have an email from one of the people, the proponents, saying that they met with the Conservation Commission, and that was a critical part of this proposal, that the Conservation Commission would meet with them, okay? And he said he met with them in December. The December records of the Conservation Commission, as well as the November, January, and February, they never met with the Conservation Commission. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on in town, and the only way that we can prevent this is to passing this article, and that may not even prevent it. We have some very good, strong zoning laws that will help prevent it. But we're talking about millions and millions of tons of materials. We're talking about this proposal right here. We're talking 75 truckloads a day coming down Route 68. 75 a day. Hearing those brakes come off. And I was and I know I was behind you when you were walking in. You knew what you said? You were telling someone, you said, I don't really care because I don't live on Pitcherville Road. Well, damn it, I think the people on Pitcherville Road don't feel that way.
Wait. Sir, guys, we can't have these kind of conversations. Tom, I need you to finish up.
Okay, anyways, I really strongly, we moved it, not moved the article, well, we did move it.
Mr. Dimick.
I'd like to second that move to a vote, please.
Well, we don't need that because we're going to vote. I allowed you the privilege of any last questions. Does anyone have any last questions? Seeing none, then we're ready to vote. Okay? So this, as a change to the general bylaws, requires a simple majority. So that's what I'm looking for. All in favor of the Article 33, please raise your cards. All opposed? Motion carries. Article 34. To see if the town will amend the Hubbardston Town Charter by adding the following section. All Prop 2.5 ballot questions, Mass General Law 59, Section 21C, to be presented for voter approval shall be permitted only once per fiscal year. The question shall appear on the annual town election ballot and shall not appear on any special election ballot. The section shall be added to only one section of the town charter as advised by town council. Article 2, Legislative Branch, Section 5, Prop 2.5, Ballot Question 251. Article 5, Financial Provision, Procedures, Section 1, Annual Budget 5113. Article 5, Financial Provisions, Procedures, Section 5, Prop 2.5, Ballot Questions. Do I have a motion, please? May I have a motion? Mr. Rustin, do I have a second? Second. Do you have a name? I'm sorry.
Andrew Rustin.
Andrew Rustin.
Okay, Andrew Rustin. This requires a 2/3 vote. Mr. Rustin.
Welcome to Article 34. Thank you for your patience. I guess I stirred the bee's nest a little with this one. I thought it was a pretty simple and easy proposition. I thought it was an easy proposition to put forth. Over the last 10 years, not one Prop 2.5 question has passed, but each time a certain pet project or projects have failed, they have come back in a reconstituted version of it. So a Prop 2.5 question is a fiscal planning process, and the fiscal planning should be done at the beginning of the year. Now, here, next week, at the annual town ballot. To do so afterwards is discourteous, and it discredits the vote of the town ballot. And it's and to me, it's an abuse of the ability of the powers that be to listen to the town people. The section of law that regulates the town charter specifies how to go about an amendment. And under that section there, part of it says, the town meeting shall consider and vote upon any suggested charter amendment which would have the power to propose under subsection A, and which is not substantially the same as amendment already considered and voted upon within the last 12 months. So I'm taking the same concept here with Prop 2.5, taking the same question, reconstituting it into the same, a different form, and presenting to the voters as you have with the town charter, that you cannot do with the town charter. So if it's good for Boston, if it's good for them, for the law, why isn't it good for Hubbardston?
Thank you. Mr. Flagg.
9 Evergreen Road, Hubbardston, Massachusetts. So I guess...
A little bit closer to the mic, Paul.
Oh, well, I thought it was, but is that better?
Better.
Okay. Paul Flagg, 9 Evergreen Road, Hubbardston, Massachusetts. My basic question is kind of twofold, I think. One is I don't understand why we need this change. Maybe I'm out of touch, but have we had an abuse going on? Has this been a problem? I'm unclear what the problem is, other than theoretically, that this change is addressing. So, have we had abuse? That's my first question.
My guess is it's a matter of perspective.
Well, I guess.
Second question?
Well, okay. And the second question is, or it's kind of more of a comment, life happens. If you restrict yourself to being able to do things only once a year, that can be pretty restrictive when things come up and they need to be addressed, whatever they may be. And I think there's the risk of kind of handcuffing the town or the town boards or town officials when circumstances have changed and potential action needs to take place. And I didn't hear an overwhelming sense that there was abuse. I don't know, to be honest. I'm not around too much these days. But I think you're going to handcuff yourself. You may need to have the flexibility, and I don't think there's a problem looking for a solution here.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie.
Mr. Chairman, the Planning Board also held a hearing on this, but it may not be relevant because I understand the Select Board also held a hearing. If you'd like me to, I'll read the report that we have. If not, it's just offer that to the meeting.
43 minutes.
I'm sorry?
No.
Okay. That's okay.
Steve?
Steve Hanley, Old Princeton Road. I just want to agree with the first man that spoke. Bringing things up if you don't get your way, to me, is an abuse of democracy. There's nothing really that important that cannot wait another year. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay. FinCom?
Okay, just say that when you're in the mic.
I'm Susan Rain. I live at 10 Williamsville Road. I'm not going to stand up at the other mic here because I've got a boo-boo. I oppose the proposed charter amendment. It is a bad idea for 3 reasons. Number 1, it contradicts and violates state law. Number 2, the AG's office will strike it down. Number 3, last but not least, it muzzles the free speech rights of our residents. The proposed amendment wants to bundle all Prop 2.5 ballot questions. Why? Because those in favor of it think this means we will vote on these hard issues once and for all, and not repeatedly. But that is not how our form of government works. And because that is not how it works, there are laws and traditions that stand in the way of this amendment. Our town council has said that the amendment is inconsistent with Prop 2.5 for 2 reasons. Number 1, because Mass General Laws, Chapter 59 says, where town meeting appropriations are contingent on a Prop 2.5 vote, that vote must occur within 90 days of the town meeting. Bundling of these types of questions outside of the 90-day window is not allowed. Number 2, because Prop 2.5 itself contains no limits on the number of times these questions can be brought. The Mass Department of Revenue's guidance on Prop 2.5 itself says that there are no limits. So when you take these 2 reasons together, it's clear that imposing limits on voting these questions is not kosher. Our town council also spoke with the AG's office, who said that under Chapter 59, Prop 2.5 questions are placed on the ballot at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen. that this charter amendment would be seen as interfering with that discretion, and that the AG would likely strike it down, as it has other bylaws that have tried to do the same thing. But just as importantly, this amendment, if passed, will derail citizen petitions if they try to revisit a Prop 2.5 ballot question. Keep in mind that this censorship can cut both ways. Continued debate is not only not wrong, it is essential. Things change, people change, conditions change, and now more than ever, we need flexibility to handle the unexpected. Hubbardston has a lot of important problems to solve if we are to endure for another 50 years, let alone 250. And we can't and shouldn't bundle them all up for a look-see once a year. This amendment is probably not lawful and makes no sense from a governance point of view. If passed, it will probably be challenged, and the fight will cost the town legal fees that it doesn't have to spend on a losing battle. Let's not do this. Let's defeat this amendment. Our current rules work just fine. And instead, let's debate the issues just like we are right now and keep our conversations free and open. Thank you.
Okay. Article 34. I see no further discussion. It requires a 2/3 vote. So let's try again and see if we can do it one more time. All in favor of Article 34, please raise your cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16, 17, 18. All opposed. I'll need counters on the opposed, please. Could you count for me? The vote is 111 opposed, 18 in favor. The motion fails. Well, 49 minutes.